Welcome to the Faith Together podcast from the Center for Faith and Family at Olivet Nazarene University. If you believe that passing down Christian faith is essential for the next generation, you are in the right place. Enjoy conversations with guests who are faith practitioners, parents, caregivers, pastors, counselors, and many more. You'll enjoy practical tools and community for passing down Christian faith to your children and grandchildren.
Well, welcome back to the Faith Together podcast, everybody. We are so glad that you're here. I am joined today with my co-host, Leon. Hi, Leon.
Hi, Lindsey.
It's great to be together today and to continue in our series for families.
Yes, this has been fun as we have talked with other recipients of the Lilly grant that we received and finding out what they're doing in their projects. Maybe we should do a little bit of recap on that.
Yeah,
for our
we
listeners
should.
That may be new today.
Yes. So in case you haven't been with us in this series, we have had some great episodes, the last couple of episodes, where we've sat down with other grant recipients that are a part of the Christian Parenting and Caregiving Initiative. And those recipients were Ellie Mariquing. She was from the Assemblies of God denomination, and a part of her project is called Ignite Parenting.
And that was that Kids at Heart?
That was last week.
Oh, that was last week.
Yeah,
okay.
So 2 weeks ago was Ellie, and then last week we had Becky McAllister from Kids at Heart International, which is a worldwide organization that trains ministry leaders all over the world, but specifically, Kids at Heart is using their grant to speak into and strengthen their domestic programs of ministry to children's ministry leaders, parents, people all over our country. So that was a great conversation with Becky as well.
Yeah, that was good. It was enjoyable. I learned a lot of things about what they're doing and resources that are available to us. So if you missed that podcast last week, you can go back and listen to that. It's on all of the podcast platforms. You can also go to our website at centerff.com and find that recording there as well. Yeah,
and we linked all of those special projects on our website. So if you're interested in finding out more and to see their resources, which they have a lot of them, Leon?
Yes, they do.
They've been very busy. So Ignite Parenting and Kids at Heart International, both of those organizations are linked on our website. So, Leon, I think my takeaway as we kind of wrap up this series today is just I'm so grateful to be a part of not only our project, the Center for Faith and Family, but to be able to be a part of a bigger story here. Yeah.
So there's something about just being a part of a community. So one of the things we're going to learn about today, or it may be mentioned kind of on the side, is that there's this organization that we're going to talk to the leader of it today, who puts on a conference for all the grant recipients.
Yes.
And there's just something about being together and knowing we're not out there on our own doing this, and talking to these guests that we've had have been a real affirmation of that.
Yes.
And so it's nice to know that we're all kind of a part of the same journey and trying to accomplish the same kind of things, but doing it from so many different creative ways.
Yes, absolutely. So today we have a special guest with us,
We do have a special
don't we?
guest, kind of a new friend to us.
Yes.
And so let me introduce to you our guest today. He is Reverend Ronnie Farmer, Jr., and he is the director of the Christian Parenting and Caregiving Initiative within the Strengthening Ministry with Children Coordination Program at Indiana Wesleyan University. Basically what that means, and he'll probably explain this to us, is they've been given a grant to help oversee all of the grant recipients.
Yes.
So they kind of bring us all together and do wonderful things for us and support us. Ronnie is the founding director, of the I Have a Dream Preschool Academy, which is a Spanish immersion preschool that orients children toward biblical neighboring. Farmer received his MA from Asbury Theological Seminary and completed his clinical pastoral education at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta as a pediatric chaplain. He and his wife, Sarah, have been married for 14 years and have 4 beautiful children. Now, the thing that's not in this bio that I have learned about Ronnie is he is a compassionate person who cares deeply about other people. It just comes out of him when you're with him. He is a great person to be around, very encouraging, and we're really glad to have him with us today. So, Ronnie, welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. It is such a joy and a privilege to be here on your podcast today. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're real excited to get a chance to talk with you today.
We are. Yes. So, Ronnie, can you tell us a little bit about the Strengthening Ministry with Children Coordination Program? Did I get all that correct?
I know it's a mouthful, but yes, you did get it correct, Lindsey.
Yes.
We initially came into the role. It took us a while to get it as well, so there's a lot of grace there for you. So the Strengthening Ministry with Children Coordination Program at Indiana Wesleyan University is essentially a program that has been commissioned by Lilly Endowment, which is a philanthropic organization, of course, to provide support for churches and institutions across North America who have received these large grants from the endowment focused on formation and discipleship among children. Our coordination program essentially has two initiatives under our banner. One is Christian parenting and caregiving, and the other is nurturing children through worship and prayer, which is led by my wonderful colleague, Lauren Shepard. The Christian Parenting Initiative is really focused on equipping parents and caregivers to hand down a Christian faith and really emphasizes formation in the home. And the Nurturing Children Through Worship and Prayer initiative is focused on intergenerational worship and cultivating a formative space within congregations for children to experience God through worship and prayer. We currently have approximately 288 organizations under our banner. So a lot of institutions, organizations, but they represent a very large array of churches, institutions, and denominations and nonprofits across North America. Our coordination program itself is in year 3, and so we're still relatively young. But what we love, as Leon said, just journeying alongside grantees and who are leading these amazing initiatives aimed at deepening Christian life among children and really just hearing the ways in which God is at work for those who have received these grants.
Wow. That's a lot. So let me put this in perspective for our listeners, Ronnie. So 2 grant programs, the Christian Parenting Initiative, which is the grant that we have at the Center for Faith and Family.
That's right.
And then, Ronnie, I don't know if you know this, but we actually applied for the Nurturing Children in Worship and Prayer grant, and we were turned down.
Oh man!
Yeah, we were really disappointed in that because we had some great ideas of what we'd like to do. But one of the things that I'm really thankful for is I think in some ways God protected us a bit, Lindsey.
Yes,
I would agree. Excited about that.
I'm glad you said that because I had that thought just now too.
Yeah, because we were excited about that, but we have put so much energy into this project. I don't know how we would have managed a second project at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So about 288, is that the number you gave us?
Correct. About 288 organizations that are currently under our banner. And I think what's so unique, particularly for us, is that these are churches, but they're also nonprofits and institutions and denominations. And so there's just a very wide array of organizations represented within the Strengthening Ministry with Children Coordination Program initiative.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So now, in addition to that, you all also have the Christian Parenting and Caregiving Initiative grant.
Yep,
is that correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so you're managing our grants or overseeing our grants, but then you also have one of those particular grants yourself.
Yes, we do. And I think the beauty of being able to also have a grant as well is that it really helps us to learn as we journey alongside others and to even, I think, understand, from a very context-specific perspective, I think some of the challenges related to the work, so that as we are in conversation with grantees, we can say me too as well. Our particular grant that we have here at the university is really focused on equipping parents to confidently disciple their children at home and has 3 particular foci. One is we offer grants to churches that would give them the capacity to create programming that would be specific to their particular context. We also have an initiative within our initiative really focused on creating small groups for parents, as we have seen that a lot of parents are parenting on an island. And so we took John Wesley's band group model and retweaked some of those questions and really formed them to be a way for parents to engage in intentional conversation around what's happening in the home. And then we're also working on creating resources that really help parents lean into discipleship in the home. And then one of the things that I'm probably most excited about is our team here is working on an animation film focused on the life of Harriet Tubman, and really celebrating the ways in which she was able to, at a different time in our country, lean into and develop cross-racial relationships that help to really advocate for people of color. And so the other emphasis within our grant with that in mind is really focused on biblical neighboring and ordering children in that regard.
Wow, that's amazing. So an animated film. So if I remember correctly from what I've seen of work that you've done, you're an artist as well, aren't you?
That is correct, Leanna.
Yeah, so I've seen online some of the work that you've done, paintings. I think they are. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't tell if it was chalk or painting, but I thought it was painting. And so this probably goes along really well with the creative part of who you are.
Absolutely. It has been a dream and a joy to be able to, I think, utilize some of my own creative giftings as we have particularly worked on the animation film focused on the life of Harriet Tubman. And, I've never, just to be honest, it's my first time ever doing an animation film. And so there's a lot of excitement in our office, and we really believe that this will have some significant impact, particularly in the Wesleyan Church, as we continue to form and shape this project.
So is directing these programs your full-time job?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Because like in my situation, I'm still teaching and kind of leading this program, but it sounds like with all that you guys are doing, this takes a team of full-time people, right?
Absolutely.
And then some, probably.
Yes. And I think one of the things too is that there are other coordination programs that have been commissioned by the Endowment, but we are the only coordination program that also has a grant as well that we have for our local community. And so our efforts are a team effort, and I'm so thankful for our team, which really helps to provide support for what we're doing here locally, but also what we're doing across North America.
That's wonderful. And Ronnie, we also just really appreciate how serious your team and you are for modeling what this work can look like. Because as grant recipients, we also find ourselves, just with a lot of questions, and we can bring those easily to you guys. And you say, as you mentioned earlier, like, hey, us too, we're figuring this out as well. And that just has really been such a gift, I would say, as a part of the project. And as I've come onto the project in the last year or so, going to the annual gathering, getting to meet you all and getting to learn alongside other grant recipients was a really formational experience for me. And you all worked really hard on that experience as well. So just want to say thank you, and that your continued openness and willingness to help us learn as you learn is really, really, really appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let me just say this. It is a gift for our team to be able to hear just the vast array of projects that are happening across North America, but also to learn as well. And so as we are putting together our annual gathering and thinking about how to best convene, I think, grantees, it is always a gift for us because we get to, of course, connect and to meet grantees on the ground, but also to just hear about the amazing thing that grantees are learning as it relates to the spiritual formation of children.
Yes, that's wonderful. And speaking of all of the things that we learn alongside one another, have there been resources that you have found helpful as you've come alongside parents and caregivers in the work you're doing at Indiana Wesleyan, whether that's coming alongside different churches that are creating programming, or those small groups that are helping parents, or even with the animation film? We'd love to hear, what resources have been helpful to you all.
Yeah, great question. And so I can speak to what we're doing here, and then I can also speak broadly. One of the things that we have noticed is that the resources that we found to be most helpful really are the resources that have been a product of deep and ongoing listening with parents and children. Most of the churches and organizations that we've seen who've had a significant impact in their work have been able to equip parents and caregivers to be faithful stewards of handing down the faith, have found a way to cultivate a space of deep and ongoing listening, I think, with parents and children. And I think it's easy to assume what parents and children need. So listening helps refine our efforts for all of us and helps us develop context-specific programming. For our larger initiative, we have a lot of organizations under our banner that are simply developing assessment tools to help churches listen and better understand some of the unique insights of both parents and children. And I think it's easy as we lean into this work and we think about resources to think about in even listening to sometimes forget to listen to children. And so it's always a gift for us whenever we hear about organizations who are developing resources that really are the direct product of listening to children. And we've seen a lot of success, particularly in that regard for our coordination program. As it relates to what we are doing locally as a grant recipient as well, as we have been in conversations with pastors and leaders here, one of the things that we've realized is that a lot of parents in our own context are really parenting on an island. And so one of the things that we did last year after some intentional listening with pastors on our advisory committee is we began to look at what it might look like to have churches have parent-led small groups that were really intentional about highlighting and challenging and encouraging parents to be intentional about shepherding in a home. And so we took John Wesley's band group model and his questions and retweaked those questions and really made them more suitable for parents. And we last year piloted a series of small groups for parents and are currently in our second phase of a small group initiative here in our city that essentially will provide community for parents and help get parents off the island so they can have people on their team to help them as they disciple their children.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So I'm really intrigued by the band group. So for our listeners who may not be familiar with John Wesley and his band groups, basically what Wesley did is he got groups of people who were committed to following Jesus together, and then he had a series of questions that every time they got together they had to answer, and they were pretty intense questions about your personal life and how you're living out your faith and all of those kind of things. So you've taken that, which I think is a great model, and adjusted those to kind of fit a family model. Absolutely.
And so one of the questions that John Wesley would ask is, essentially, when is the last time you sinned? And, so we took that question, have you sinned in the word, action, or deed? And we rephrased it and we made the question, when is the last time you sinned against your child in action, word, or deed? And the thing I think that has been so compelling, at least as we listen to a lot of our parents who were in the initial pilot phase of our band groups, is the ways in which that particular question, I think, created just a great sense of sharing, accountability, and vulnerability. And I think for most of us who are parents, if we're honest, we have all missed the mark. We have all, had moments where, we do a face palm. And one of our hopes, I think, for our initiative is that we provide a safe space for parents to be honest about where they are missing a mark, with the hopes that they can be in a safe community with other parents who can once again say me too, and they can find encouragement along the way.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm assuming that these are both surveys and maybe interviews that you're doing with these parents? Yeah.
Yep, correct. So when we initially launched our pilot phase for the band groups, most of the initiative itself really came from conversations with pastors who were on our advisory committee. We also had parents as well. And then that transferred into, once we launched our band groups, really listening intently to band group leaders and asking them questions through surveys and through an intentional listening group, focus group, really just about the experience of leading a band group and really getting some feedback about what was happening in the lives of other parents as well.
So are you all publishing those tools? Because I could see those being tools that could be used beyond just your project.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are currently in our second, if you can say maybe, launch pilot phase. And the hope, Leon, is for us to do two things. One is to have an entire website committed to parent-led band groups. We're actually calling them family discipleship groups as a way to make the language more accessible. And then we are also creating journals that will have those questions that will allow band group leaders, family discipleship group leaders to be able to lead groups for parents within our local congregation.
Wow, I love that.
I do
too.
So
as someone who loves to kind of dive into research and find resources and things like that, I love that would be available. So as you've gone through this process, what has surprised you about some of the things that you have found that maybe you did not anticipate along the way?
Yes, a really great question. I think the thing that's probably surprised me the most, and this is for our coordination program as well as for our local initiative, is how much busyness is an impediment to formation discipleship in a home. That has been a reoccurring theme within our larger work as well as our local work. When we talk to grantees who received grants from the Endowment, they have regularly communicated to us just how difficult it is to connect with parents who are busy. And before I talk about other parents, I can just put myself kind of on a chopping board. Our family, we have 4 kids. My son Micah has soccer practice Tuesdays and Thursdays. My daughter Acacia has gymnastics Monday and Wednesdays, and then my son Elisha, who's 13. Is always doing basketball training. And so we get it, busy, right?
Yeah.
And there is a component of discipleship that is disruptive. And so that's one of the things I think that we've learned has been pretty surprising is that the greatest impediment probably for a lot of parents to be able to confidently and boldly and consistently, I think, shepherd and disciple their children really is related to just their schedules and busyness. And so we have tried to be intentional as a team with thinking about how to strategize around our programming in that regard. And so this past week, we hosted an event here at the university called I Don't Feel Like Cooking Tonight, and invited families from our community to enjoy a free meal at the university on us. But when families came in, we gave them cards that were conversation cards as a way to cultivate conversation around a table in the house, as a way to cultivate emotional connection as well among children and parents. But we have had to be very intentional and strategic with how we call parents, I think, to discipleship, given the impediment that busyness is.
Yeah, the conversation cards have come up in a couple of our other interviews with other grant recipients where they conversation cards around the table. So are these something you all created, or are you using something that was already manufactured?
Yeah, great question. So kind of essentially right now, these are cards that we're piloting that ask just really basic and lighthearted questions, such as, would you rather be invisible or talk to animals? Would you rather have spaghetti for hair or maple syrup for sweat? If your family was stuck on an island and you can only choose 3 items to have with you, what would they be? And so part we're trying to do with some of the questions that we're asking is to really champion a conversation around a dinner table in a home, because we see and know the value of emotional connection and a way in which emotional connection is really at the epicenter of discipleship information among parents and children.
I love those questions, Ronnie, for this reason. I think it's a great model for parents that the conversation doesn't have to be like on spiritual events or spiritual things going on in their lives, for it to be a spiritual moment in their lives. So like they can talk about everyday life, and that's part of building faith in kids as they begin to trust their parents, feel like they can talk with them and all those kind of things. So I love that approach.
Absolutely. And I think one of our hopes too is really, as we think about some of the things we're doing around a dinner table and, for events, is really in emotional connection is just a gift of laughter, knowing that laughter, when it happens in a home, is also a way to create emotional connection among parents and children as well.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think too, you mentioned this word, Leon, but just building trust with our children and that emotional connection through laughter, through just those moments of eye-to-eye contact and being with one another. It is so powerful. It is something that is hard to put words to as to how it impacts their trust and the relationship for years to come. And so I think those are just great ideas. And for our listeners out there, just know that your time spent with your child to share faith with them doesn't have to be over spiritual. As Leon said, it can be just those everyday moments and being intentional with those moments in the car, on the way to practice, on the way home from school, before bed, all those different times. And I know that's one of our passions to talk about. And we've actually done that here on the podcast in different ways. And so just continue to know and be encouraged that those moments matter. And as you build that emotional connection and trust with your child, that opens up those spiritual moments, and you are prepared for when those spiritual conversations do happen.
Yeah, that was well said.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us today. I know from Leon and myself, it is a joy to be on the team with you and to learn from you. And we're really looking forward to seeing you all again this fall at the annual gathering.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to add my appreciation to what Lindsey said. Ronnie, it's, this would have been an overwhelming task for us to take this on kind of in isolation, and knowing that the Strengthening Ministry organization through Indiana Wesleyan is a part of helping us come together as a large group of individuals, but also to support each of our programs. And I always know that if I have questions or concerned about anything, I can give you guys a call and know that you'll be there to support us and help us. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Sure. Well, let me say this on behalf of our entire coordination program team here in Wesleyan University. Thank you for the opportunity to share today, but also to thank you for the amazing work that you all are doing at Olivet. We are always so encouraged when we get an opportunity to hear about what God is doing through you all. So thank you all for the invitation to join again the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Well, for those of you who are listening today, thank you for joining us. We hope that you're encouraged that there are plenty of people who care about you and your family, your kids, and the process of passing faith on to them, that there are groups, organizations all around the country as a part of this project who are creating resources to try to help parents to be all that they want to be in helping raise their kids to follow Jesus. So thank you once again for joining us today. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and give you peace. You've been listening to the Faith Together podcast from the Center for Faith and Family at Olivet Nazarene University. Sign up for additional resources at centerff.com. When building faith, we are better together.